Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. Monetary Policy Committee holds key policy rates as expected, but signals that inflation undershooting earlier expectations opens up space for more cuts. Later, economists expect a rate cut in the December policy. In a first, RBI allows banks to finance mergers and acquisitions, removes lending restrictions on large borrowers with more than 10,000 crore rupees of exposure, also eases rules to allow more infra financing by non-banking financial companies. RBI announces a 4-year glide path for banks to implement expected credit loss framework by March 2031. Move will smoothen the impact of higher one-time provisions. Also proposes to ease capital adequacy rules, especially for MSMEs and mortgages. Removes overlap restrictions on businesses of banks and their group entities. Capital markets get an unexpected bonanza. RBI hikes the limit on lending against shares from 20 lakh to 1 crore rupees. IPO financing limit more than doubled to 25 lakh per person. Removes the ceiling on lending against listed debt securities like REITs and InvITs. Bank stocks lead the rally on Dalal Street as Sensex and Nifty snap an 8-day losing streak. Rupee gains strength against the dollar. 10-year bond yields rise. Gold prices hit another record high as the demand for safe havens remains strong. Weak dollar and expectations of more Fed rate cuts boost sentiment. Prices of silver and other precious metals also rally. Union Cabinet hikes the minimum support price for 6 Rabi crops by 4% to 10%. MSP on wheat hiked by over 6%. Also hikes dearness allowance for central government employees and pensioners by 3% with an overlay of over 10,000 crore rupees. CNBC TV 18 news break confirmed. Serum's Adar Poonawalla says Royal Challengers Bengaluru are a great team at the right valuation. This comes a day after CNBC TV 18 report on Diageo looking to sell RCB and is eyeing nearly $2 billion with Poonawalla emerging as the frontrunner. The US government shuts down for the first time in nearly 7 years. The Senate fails to pass a bill to extend federal funding. President Donald Trump threatens mass layoffs. Pharma giant Pfizer strikes a deal with the Trump administration to cut costs for some prescription drugs by up to 85% in the US, offers the most favored nation pricing, and it earns a tariff reprieve for 3 years. The deal also includes a $70 billion investment commitment. Swiss chocolates, watches and other items set to get cheaper in India. The $100 billion trade deal between India and the European Free Trade Association takes effect today. Crime rate in India sees a sharp spike by 26% according to newly released government data from 2023. Crimes against children rise over 9%. Crimes against women in cities also rise by over 5%. Manipur reports a 6-fold rise in crimes amid ethnic violence. All right, the top story that we are tracking this evening. In an unexpected move, the RBI Monetary Policy Committee has decided to keep the repo rate steady at 5.5%. All 6 MPC members voted to pause the rates. However, the decision to retain a neutral policy stance was not unanimous. The RBI has increased the growth forecast for FY26 from 6.5% earlier to 6.8%. However, Governor Sanjay Malhotra said that the tariff and trade uncertainty may lower external demand, posing downside risk to growth. Meanwhile, the inflation forecast for FY26 has been lowered from 3.1% earlier to 2.6%. Inflation forecast for the first quarter of FY27 has also been lowered to 4.5%. The governor said this opens up space for policy action, hinting at a rate cut in the future. Governor Malhotra said the GST rate cuts will have a sobering impact on inflation and will push consumption. However, he warned that the outlook remains clouded due to external uncertainties. He also addressed the rupee depreciation, saying that the RBI is keeping a close watch on the currency and will take appropriate steps as warranted. Here is the governor on the room for future rate cuts.
There has been a significant moderation in inflation. Moreover, the prevailing global uncertainties and tariff-related developments are likely to decelerate growth in H2 this year and beyond, the current macroeconomic conditions and the outlook has opened up policy space for further supporting growth.
Apart from the monetary policy, what stole the limelight were a slew of measures by the central bank to shore up lending. A total of more than 20 measures have been announced by the RBI. Ritu Singh is here with the highlights.
Well, yes, the Reserve Bank of India has unveiled sweeping, reforms across the banking sector, measures that will reshape credit flow, boost competitiveness, and open new avenues of growth, especially for banks. First up, the expected credit loss framework. It's not going to bite immediately. Implementation only starts from April of 2027, with banks getting time until 2031 to fully absorb the higher provisioning impact. Basel III capital adequacy guidelines are going to kick in from 2027 as well. Alongside, draft norms on credit risk propose, lower risk weights for MSMEs and home loans. That again is going to make capital requirement for banks lower. Now, in another huge relief, RBI has scrapped its earlier draft on business overlaps between banks and their group entities, leaving that call to individual bank boards. This is especially important for lenders with multiple subsidiaries like HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank. But perhaps the most striking shift of all of these has been that banks can now finally finance mergers and acquisitions, which is a complete U-turn from earlier RBI regulations. This has, of course, been a long-standing demand from banks, and it will now let them enter the M&A space, an area which had increasingly been dominated by private credit. So expect more buyouts and consolidation deals as well. Now, capital market rules are being eased for bank lending as well. There's going to be no ceiling anymore on lending against debt securities. Banks can lend against shares, REITs, InvITs. The limit on loan against shares has been raised fivefold from 20 lakh rupees all the way to 1 crore rupees. And similarly, IPO funding limits per person have been bumped up from 10 lakh rupees to 25 lakh rupees. Now, for large borrowers, there's huge relief. The 2016 rules that discouraged bank lending to corporates that had more than 10,000 crores in bank loans, that is gone. This marks a significant shift. The large exposure framework, though, for individual bank-level risk management remains, but the system-level concentration risk is now going to be managed through separate tools that are yet to be announced. Now, for infrastructure, again, risk weights for NBFC lending to operational and high-quality projects is going to be cut down. That will again bring down the financing cost for them. And finally, deposit insurance premiums are going to turn risk-based. That means banks with better rating pay less, the riskier ones pay more. So this is some sort of an incentive for better governance as well. So overall, big bang reforms, more than 20 announced in this policy with some far-reaching consequences.
All right, thank you, Ritu, for that update. SBI research says M&A deals in FY24 were valued at over 10 lakh crore rupees. And with the RBI's new measures, M&A financing by banks could unlock potential credit growth of 1.2 lakh crore rupees. In a report, SBI Research has said that the RBI's withdrawal of the 2016 circular on specified large borrowers could boost credit by another 4 lakh crore rupees. RBI Governor Malhotra said these measures should not be viewed as relaxation of banking rules.
I don't think, that you should see these measures as any kind of a relaxation or kind of letting go our sight, from financial stability. Stability is foremost for us. Whether it is price stability, whether it is financial stability, that is foremost not only for us, I think for the country as a whole, it's very, very important.
And Lata Venkatesh is here with more on the policy and the slew of banking measures unleashed by the RBI. Lata, please take us through what you made of the policy and the sweeping banking package.
Well, it was a no-action policy, no rate cut policy, but there was a very clear guidance that one cut is coming, at least. Look at the words he said. He said the lower than expected inflation and the GST cuts give us space to support growth. On a previous occasion, he had said leaves very limited space to support growth. Now, they've removed the word limited and just said space to support growth. There are some economists who interpret that as not just one, but maybe even two cuts. But of course, that's a debate. No one is debating that there is space that the governor is hinting at a cut probably as early as December. So that's the positive that's come from the monetary policy side. But as is now very clear, this is more a banking policy. It's a credit policy rather than a monetary policy. Look at the slew of steps. The big one is banks allowed to do acquisition finance. You know, until now, right, from the last 3 decades, the Reserve Bank's view was banks should give loans to grow the economy, not to just change the owner. You know, one big man takes out one small man. You don't waste credit on that. Now they've allowed acquisition finance because, yes, there is enough money for growth, perhaps. But more importantly, the chances are there will be a huge consolidation in India Inc. because you're getting money to buy up smaller companies. Think cement, think paints, think all these places where there is multiple competition. I think consolidation is on the way, driven by bank finance. Then system-wide loans to large groups was curtailed because of overexposure. That also goes, this can push up capex because it's only the large groups which are really into capex. Then lower risk weights because of these Basel III norms. You will have lower capital to be set aside for MSME loans and for residential real estate, which means mortgage home loans will go down. Those who build homes will also get cheaper money. That, again, is a big positive. These are proposals. Okay, they're not yet implemented, but they will be. And therefore, banks are now they've made it cheaper, hold less capital to give loans. But the whole point that cannot be answered by Reserve Bank is there demand for credit? That will depend on growth. Reserve Bank doesn't have the weapons to create demand for growth. They can only facilitate easier lending. The animal spirits have to be driven by government. So there is that if. But otherwise, they've really smoothed the way to lending by banks.
All right, thank you for that, Lata. And here's how the markets reacted to the RBI policy. Bond yields rose today after RBI's status quo policy. The rupee gained some strength against the dollar, which has been weakening in the last few days. $1 now costs nearly 89 rupees. From money market to stock markets, Dalal Street snapped its 8-day losing streak and ended at day's high. Nifty closed above the 24,800 mark, led by banks and auto stocks. Nifty Bank cheered the central bank's banking regulations, ending the day over 1%. All right, moving on to the commodities market now. The gold bull run continues with the yellow metal hitting another record high. Silver prices are also rallying along with the precious metals. Manisha Gupta has the details.
Well, thank you so much for that. Well, absolutely. It has been an all-time high and a string of that when you look at 2025. And September, the month, clearly has seen more days where you have seen more all-time highs coming in for the gold and silver prices there. This is what we've done in the international markets. 38.95 is done. Remember, we started this year with $26.50 an ounce, and we are trading at 38.95, not too far away from 3,900 or, for that matter, 4,000 as well. 48% of gains is what we've done in 2025 till time, and this is the best yearly gain that you are looking at in sense of gold prices since 1979. For the Indian markets as well, it's trading at around 1,18,000 rupees per 10 grams. So strong gains continuing for gold. Silver not too far away. The international markets are trading at a 14-year highs, but the Indian markets are trading at an all-time highs. For silver, it has seen an outperformance on gold. Silver has gained up by 64% in this year until time, and this is the best yearly gain that we are looking at in 10 years when it comes to silver as well. Not too far away is platinum, because here as well we are trading at around 12-year highs, 78% of gains. So platinum clearly has outperformed gold and silver both. For platinum as well, this is the best yearly gain that we are looking at since 1979. These commodities clearly have outperformed various other asset classes, including equities, including bonds, including real estate as well. Not too far away is copper, and that is being touted as the next gold. Copper is trading at a 2-month highs right now. We have seen 21% of gains come in for copper in this year, and this is the best gains that you've seen in last 5 years come in for copper as well. So everything that says tangible commodities has seen gains in 2025. There is just so much uncertainty, and that really seems to be supporting many of these commodities. So as I said, investors really seem to be moving towards tangible commodities. And then there are expectations of further rate cuts coming in from US. That rate cut cycle perhaps has just started. Markets are working with 2 more rate cuts in this year and then 1 more in 2026 in sense of first quarter. So when it comes to gold, really, it has been also about the dollar index, which has declined by 9% in this year until now. You also are looking at very strong investment demand coming in for gold, silver, platinum, copper. The ETF buying has been on the stronger side as well. For gold, it has been very strong central bank buying, nearly 80 tons per month, and that clearly has been a multi-year highs there. Deficit concerns when it comes to many of these industrial commodities also seems to be keeping these commodity prices higher, with an expectation that we might be overbought on charts, but under-owned when it comes to retail and institutions. So further gains for many of those still not ruled out.
Right. Thank you, Manisha, for that. GST collections in September rose 9.1% to 1.89 lakh crore rupees on an annual basis. Collections between the April to September period also rose over 9%. Net revenue in the first 5 months stood at 8.78 lakh crore, an increase of 8.8% from a year ago. The cabinet has hiked the minimum support price for 6 Rabi crops by 4% to 10%. Here's the breakdown. Now, MSP on wheat has been hiked by over 6% to 2,585 rupees, while MSP on barley has been hiked by over 8% to 2,150 rupees. Safflower has seen the highest hike of over 10% to 6,540 rupees. The Union Cabinet has also increased dearness allowance for central government employees and pensioners by 3%. This move is expected to benefit nearly 50 lakh employees and over 68 lakh pensioners. The total outlay for this scheme stands at more than 10,000 crore rupees. Overall, retail auto sales slipped into double-digit decline, but a late surge in demand ahead of the festive season brought much-needed relief to manufacturers. Now, Tata Motors recorded strong sales across both commercial and passenger vehicle categories. Hyundai's sales also rose 10%, with sales of SUVs hitting an all-time high. Bajaj Auto sales also beat estimates, while M&M and Escorts Kubota posted a 45% rise in tractor sales. We told you first, and now it's official. Siramzadar Poonawalla has confirmed his interest in IPL team Royal Challengers Bengaluru with a social media post. In a post on X, Poonawalla said that Royal Challengers Bengaluru are a great team at the right valuation. This comes a day after CNBC TV18 reported that Diageo is looking to sell RCB and is eyeing nearly $2 billion, with Poonawalla emerging as the frontrunner.
About Adar Poonawalla, I've known Adar and his father Cyrus for almost 20, 25, 30 years. To my mind, they epitomize 3 things. Number 1, in everything they've done it with decency and dignity. Number 2, they are great believers in paying the right value for the right product, whether it is dharma, whether it is, what Adar did with the finance company. And I'm sure they'll bring that perspective and that knowledge and that learning even to their IPL acquisition.
The Supreme Court has held that State Discom, Gujarat Urja Vikas Nigam, is entitled to claim reimbursements and compensation from SR Power for power that was wrongfully diverted. The judgment provides clarity on a 20-year-old power supply dispute between the 2 power companies. GUVNL signed a power purchase agreement with SR Power in 1996. The State Discom claimed that SR Power diverted power away from its 300 megawatt quota and supplied it to sister companies. Shares of Sun Pharma gained over 2% after US drug maker Pfizer struck a deal with the Trump administration to reduce prescription drug cost in the US. The deal will essentially reduce prices for Medicaid patients and will be in line with the most favored nation pricing. Remember, Trump had threatened 100% tariffs on global pharma companies last week. India's trade agreement with the European Free Trade Association kicks in from today. Now, under the deal, a slew of products are set to get cheaper, including Swiss chocolates and watches. The agreement will comprise a binding commitment of $100 billion in investments and 1 million direct jobs in the next 15 years. The deal will also entail better access for Indian services professionals and a certainty for entry and temporary stay for key personnel.
There is a mobility part within the TEPA. We want to facilitate business visas. It's important. We also want to facilitate intercompany mobility. So if you're hired by a Swiss company based in India and they want to take you to Switzerland for some time. And then, of course, there is a quota that's open for Indians if they find a position in Switzerland, then to move.
Right, coming up on India Business Hour, crime rate in India sees a sharp spike by 26%. Manipur reports a six-fold rise in crimes amid ethnic violence. More details in a bit. And you can also catch all CNBC TV 18's news and updates on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X and Geo Hotstar. Do subscribe to CNBC TV 18 Access for exclusive stories and political and special shows like The Editor's Playbook and many others. And in international news, Israeli forces continue to bombard Gaza, killing at least 51 Palestinians since dawn. 2 missiles struck a school which had been converted into a shelter for hundreds of displaced people in East Gaza City. Israel has expanded its ground invasion alongside heavy aerial bombardment in the region. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has said that Hamas has 3 or 4 days to respond to his proposed peace plan to end the war in Gaza.
Well, we're going to do about 3 or 4 days. We'll see how it is. All of the Arab countries are signed up. The Muslim countries are all signed up. Israel's all signed up. We're just waiting for Hamas. And Hamas is either going to be doing it or not. And if it's not, it's going to be a very sad end.
Russian forces have claimed to have captured a village in Ukraine's Donetsk region. The International Atomic Energy Agency is engaging with Russia and Ukraine to restore off-site power on an Ukrainian nuclear power plant. Ukrainian President Zelensky has said that Russia's shelling around the nuclear plant is a threat to everyone. In his address, Zelensky said that no terrorist in the world has ever dared to do with a nuclear power plant what Russia is doing now. Over 90 children remain trapped under building rubble after a school collapsed in Indonesia earlier this week. Search and rescue operations are still underway. Officials have confirmed that 3 students were killed and several were taken to the hospital. Over 69 people were killed after a 6.9 magnitude earthquake struck the Philippines. Rescue operations are underway as many people are still feared to be trapped under the wreckage. More towns and cities have now declared a state of calamity. The earthquake comes a week after back-to-back typhoons killed over a dozen people. US President Donald Trump has said that his administration is close to a deal with Harvard, where the university will pay $500 million to settle a dispute with the federal government. He told reporters at an event that Harvard will operate trade schools and teach people how to use artificial intelligence. This comes months after Trump cut federal funding to the Ivy League institution, claiming that Harvard violated civil rights law in its treatment of Jewish and Israeli students. The National Crime Records Bureau has released its much-delayed crime report for 2023. The crime rate saw a sharp rise across India, with Manipur standing out as the state where cases increased 6-fold over 2022. The rise is attributed to the prolonged ethnic violence in the state. Crimes against children, cybercrime and economic offences registered significant growth, while crimes against women also rose. Santiagora has the details.
The National Crime Records Bureau, the NCRB, has released the crime report for 2023. According to the report, 62,41,569 cases were recorded across India in 2023. The national crime rate, measured as cases per lakh population, stood at 448.3, a 26.1% increase over 2022. Among states and union territories, Uttar Pradesh recorded the highest number of cases under IPC in 2023 at 4,28,794, followed by Maharashtra at 3,85,623 and Delhi at 3,24,257. One of the most striking figures come from Manipur. The state registered 19,192 cases in 2023, up from 3,029 in 2022. a six-fold increase, which is attributed to the ethnic violence between the majority Metis community and the tribal Kuki community during 2023 and 2024. In terms of crime rate, Delhi topped the list at 1508.9, followed by Kerala at 721.7. Manipur ranked third with a crime rate of 594. Looking at the metropolitan cities, Delhi city had the highest crime rate at 1983, followed by Kochi at 1167 and Jaipur at 975.3. At the other end of the spectrum, Kolkata recorded the lowest crime rate of 77.5, followed by Chennai at 180.5. Crimes against children saw a 9.2% increase in 2023 compared to 2022. Crimes against women rose by 5.4% in metropolitan cities and 0.7% across states and UTs. Cybercrime also witnessed a sharp surge. A total of 86,420 cybercrime cases were registered in India in 2023. Among states and UTs, Telangana had the highest cybercrime rate at 47.8, followed by Karnataka at 32.3 and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands at 11.7. Among metropolitan cities, Bengaluru recorded the highest cybercrime rate at 207.4, followed by Hyderabad at 62.7 and Lucknow at 50.1. Overall, cybercrime cases rose by 31.2% across states and UTs and by 39% in metropolitan cities in 2023 compared to 2022.
All right, thank you, Sandhya, for that. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you for watching. News continues right here on CNBC TV 18.